Hello, and welcome to another bonus episode of the Food for Thought podcast. I'm your host, Erin Hallstrom. What do artificial intelligence and production health have in common? Here to explain is Liran Akavia, Vice President of Sales for Process Health at Augury. We recently sat down with Liran to talk about the complex challenges manufacturers are up against and how they can use an AI-driven approach to optimize production health. During our conversation, we talked about how food manufacturers can identify the right AI technology, as well as what the most common challenges food manufacturers face when it comes to adopting AI. We also discussed how process health can help food manufacturers overcome challenges with global instability and uncertainty, as well as issues such as the workforce shortage. We end the episode talking about Augury's recent acquisition of Seebo and how that merger has made for an extremely powerful combined solution and one-stop shop for process health and machine health. Enjoy the episode. Liran, welcome to this special bonus episode of the Food for Thought podcast. Let's jump right in. Can you give me an overview of the main challenges you see food manufacturers facing today? Specifically, what are the current gaps that aren't being addressed, and how is it holding manufacturers back, and what can be done?
So, Erin, thanks for the question. And if I'll start with a simple description of the challenge, I would use one word, and I would call it complexity. Now, let's elaborate a little bit. The world of food manufacturers is actually getting more complex every day. The plant manager or the VP of manufacturing, they have many different objectives. So let's take, just for example, bread baking. Industrial bread baking. We would like to produce the best quality bread possible in the lowest cost per unit possible, in the highest throughput possible, with using the lowest energy possible and with less waste as we can and low emission. I just mentioned many different objectives that every manufacturing professional is dealing with, and aligning between all of those conflicting objectives, this is really complex. Now let's add to that changing environmental conditions. In the summer it's hot, in the winter it's cold. The external conditions affect the food processing, and the macroeconomy is also making it complex. Now with the war in Ukraine, the supply chain challenges, sometimes we get different raw materials than what we used to, different oils, different wheat, and other raw materials, and that makes the manufacturing process really complex. So as the market is becoming more competitive, as consumers has more demand, and as the world is changing, the day-to-day work of food manufacturers is more complex.
AI can mean different things to different people, and it has so many applications. How can food manufacturers identify the right AI technology for optimizing process health? Is it just as simple as running any machine learning algorithm on your line and asking the right questions?
So we spoke earlier about complexity. We have many different conflicting objectives. We have external and macro conditions that are not stable and making the complexity even greater. We have dozens or hundreds of process parameters that affect our objectives. And to deal with that complexity, it's not enough to have smart people and experienced people. You need to have smart people, you need to have experienced people, and you need to give them the right tools, the right computing power to deal with such complexities. And this is exactly where AI comes into the game. But Irene, you asked even a deeper question. What kind of AI does the food manufacturer should use? And I would like to give a simple analogy. In Facebook, they used artificial intelligence to promote the content that we are going to consume. And an autonomous car is using artificial intelligence to navigate itself around the world. I guess that each one of us here in the podcast and the listeners would never use an artificial intelligence for content promotion in Facebook to run our autonomous car. That would be not a smart step. So we can learn out of that we can actually, or we need actually, an artificial intelligence that is designed for the purpose. In Facebook, we would use artificial intelligence that is designed to promote content. For autonomous cars, we are going to use artificial intelligence that is designed to drive autonomous cars. And for manufacturing, we need artificial intelligence that is designed for manufacturing. And more than that, for food processing, we need artificial intelligence that is designed exactly for that. This artificial intelligence should understand the process, should be able to calculate traceability, should be able to understand buffers and parallel processes and the material cycles. And only artificial intelligence that understands the process itself and understands food processing will be able to drive the right results. So if we zoom out for a moment, we have a very complex manufacturing situation with many different variables and many conflicting objectives. We need to use artificial intelligence in order to help our team to navigate through that. And the only artificial intelligence that can help us here is the one that understands production process.
Adopting new technologies in a large or medium-sized manufacturer isn't always straightforward. In your experience, what are the most common challenges food manufacturers face when adopting AI, and how can they overcome them? Can you share any specific examples from your customers?
Yes, certainly. I guess that part or even many of the listeners to this podcast are listening right now. They're probably intrigued and saying, wow, this is interesting. But my production is different. I am behind. I don't yet have the data available. I need to do few basic steps before I can even think about artificial intelligence. Food manufacturers not always have the right data. Sometimes the processes are a bit manual. Sometimes the quality control is done manually by operators rather than with cameras, and the quality of the raw material is checked manually rather by a sensor. Some plants or some manufacturers has traditional teams working there, brilliant people with a lot of experience, but teams that are doing the same thing for the last 20 years and maybe are a little bit reluctant of trusting an algorithm to tell them where to go. Some maybe have other priorities in deploying Lean Six Sigma or buying basic equipment that they still need. So the challenges I've just mentioned, those are challenges that we are hearing on a day-to-day in the market. And they're all true. But those challenges are not contradicting the step of deciding of moving into AI. I can tell you the story, for example, of a very large bread maker in Europe. They were exactly where I described earlier, plant with no data yet. Some sensors are still missing. And team that is not sure that AI is the right step. The executive there decided that they would like to test it and move forward. We, together with them, did assessment for the plant, identify what data is missing, and we were very mission-focused. Waste reduction and optimization of the throughput. The outcome was very clear and straightforward. This and that equipment is missing. You should deploy that. The costs were not very high, and then we could start to run the algorithms. With the algorithms, we built trust with the team. And this plant moved from zero data availability into a full AI within less than 6 months.
Food manufacturers today are being severely challenged by growing global instability and uncertainty, from rising energy costs to the climate crisis to skyrocketing costs of raw ingredients like wheat, sunflower oil, corn, and so on. Can process health overcome any of these challenges?
The short answer is definitely yes. And if I will elaborate here, process health is the artificial intelligence I mentioned earlier. Those are the algorithms that can understand production process and optimize it against the multi-dimensional objective. Earlier we mentioned that the plant manager has many different objectives that are in many cases conflicting each other. The plant manager has unstable external conditions and has dozens or hundreds of process parameters that affect the outcome. Process health is the solution that enables the plant manager and the production team to grasp all this variability and data and execute from that clear action items for the manufacturing team of the way they should run their production line in order to optimize the multidimensional objective.
Another major challenge facing food manufacturers is the workforce shortage, which, as we know, places major strain on existing workers and threatens the overall efficiency of food production in general. It sounds like process health can have a positive impact in this area as well. Would you agree?
When we look at the workforce shortage and we would like to solve it, we generally need to do two things. First, we need to do more with the people we have to empower them and to enable the smaller team that we have right now to do more. And the second thing that we would like to do is to attract talent, to be the employer that people that would like to go to work in the field would prefer. So as for doing more with the existing workforce, process health is the solution. Instead of people dealing with understanding where the problem is, the team can deal with solving the problem. Process health is reducing a lot of load from the current team, is helping them to get better and quicker decisions, and is enabling quicker onboarding to new team members. And when you speak about attracting talent, usually smart people would like to work where technology is. If you can be an employer that tell the team that you're using the cutting edge technology and that you bring them to the forefront of the industry, they would prefer to work for you.
So I'm curious, should this worry the existing workforce?
So I think that if you're an employee or a team member that don't like to progress and you insist to work in the old ways and you decided that technology is will be not deployed in your production floor, I think that there is a good reason to be worried. With process health or without process health, technology is the solution for many of the production challenges. Companies that will not move forward with technology will be irrelevant. But from the other hand, if you are a team member or an employee that is looking forward and would like to learn and embrace technology and build better production processes and contribute with that to your company, I think that you have no reason to worry, and the opposite. You will be more and more important for your organization. You will be able to do more with your time, to be more accurate, and enable your organization to be more competitive, more sustainable, and align with the business objectives.
We've been talking about process health because your company, Seebo, is a leader in the field of process health. Recently, Seebo was acquired by another industrial AI company, Augury, who is the leading machine health solution. Can you tell us a bit about your combined solution?
So at Seebo, we built the process health solution to enable manufacturers to extract more from their process, to work to meet the multidimensional objectives, to be able to react to external environmental conditions, and to do more with their raw materials. In parallel to us, Augury built the world's greatest machine health solution. They enable manufacturers to have less unplanned downtime, reduce maintenance costs, increase capacity, and increase availability of their machines. And Augury acquired Seebo to combine between the two powerful solutions. So Augury now is the only company in the world that is delivering production health. Production health is the combination of machine health and process health. Production health is bringing manufacturers to the optimal point of their production. Less downtime, more availability of the production, more capacity. And once the production is working and the machines are available and in their best condition, we optimize the process to extract the most out of it.
Can you explain to me why this is so exciting for manufacturers? Is it just about having more one-stop shop for process health and machine health, or is there something more?
So there is something more, but let's start with a simple point. One-stop shop is a big deal. You want your team members to work on a single screen rather than on many different screens. You want all the insights to be in one place. You want it to all have a simple language that the entire teams can use. But this is obviously much more than that. Many of the maintenance activities affect quality, and many of the process parameters affect maintenance. And I will give you examples. A piece of equipment, before it breaks down, it has a period that it simply produces less good product. In the traditional maintenance methods, you would simply notice when the machine breaks. But today, we can understand when the machine is about to break and bring it to a good state much before. That would enable better quality of product. And we can look at it from the other way around. I can use my process to produce maybe high throughput and excellent product, but I will simply damage the machine. And if I will be able to set the right process parameters, I will create more stable production and more healthier assets. So we are not only delivering one-stop shop, we also deliver the combination between process health and machine health that creates overall production health.
And I have one last question for you, and that is, why hasn't this been done before?
So this is a question that I'm actually getting a lot recently. And, when things like that happen, this is just the obvious question to ask. And for the customers and the teams that already adopted production health, we hear from the internal teams that they cannot imagine how they worked before into separate environments. One environment that is dealing only with process and another environment that is dealing only with maintenance. The combination between the two is the heart of the production. And I think it was not done before, maybe of the fact that the market needed to grow and the maturity of the market needed to happen. But now, when this proposition and value is existing in the market, many companies cannot imagine a different way.
Well, that definitely makes sense. Well, Liran, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on this special bonus episode of the Food for Thought podcast. For everyone listening to the Food for Thought podcast today, thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and just about everywhere you can listen to a podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we talk more about the stories behind the headlines of the food and beverage industry. Take care. Have a great day.